Today, we'll be doing a review of Samsung's flagship 8K TV of 2021, the QN900A. We'll be evaluating it on our standardized test bench to see how it performs and if you should buy it. We bought and tested the 65-inch model, and we expect the larger sizes to perform similarly. The QN900A has a few interesting design decisions that make it stand out a bit more as a flagship model. Let's start by talking about the One Connect box. This is basically a box that you can connect everything to, including HDMI cables from devices, power to the TV, and any external audio connection. And then the box connects via a single, decently discrete cable to the TV. Now, this might sound like it just adds more clutter, but in this case, you can actually move the One Connect box around to suit different TV setups. For example, you can fit the box to the stand for a clean look, or if you don't want to use the included stand, then you can wall mount the TV and put the box behind. It fits on the TV with included screws. There's the option of a short or long cable included in the box, so where you put the One Connect is really up to you. On the One Connect box are 4 high-bandwidth HDMI 2.1 ports that allow you to connect a wide variety of devices, as we'll talk about later. One of the ports also supports eARC, or an extended audio return channel, that you can connect to your receiver or soundbar to play sound from the TV through your external speakers. The back of the TV fits the VESA mount standard, or you can buy Samsung's Slim Fit wall mount for a flush look on the wall. It's the thinnest TV we've tested, so definitely looks impressive. The visible screen also goes all the way to the borders, which is impressive and immersive. The build quality of the TV is excellent, and it feels really well built with a sleek metal frame. So that's it for the design. The first thing we should talk about is the 8K resolution. Does it make sense to buy an 8K TV when there's so little 8K content? There's usually 2 reasons people might go with an 8K model. One is to future-proof for when high-resolution content does catch up. If you don't plan to buy a new TV for a long time, then this can make sense. But it's probably not the best option overall, as the price of TVs drop each year, so 8K will be cheaper when there's more content anyway. It's important to note that some people will argue that this TV isn't real 8K. That's because when you display a high-contrast 8K image like discrete 1-pixel lines, some minor artifacts are visible, which is known as contrast modulation. For most people, this isn't an issue, as these details are so small though. The other reason you may be considering an 8K TV is to enhance your experience watching lower resolution content. And with this high resolution, even 4K counts as lower resolution. Samsung does advertise AI upscaling to improve the source quality, and if this is true, you can also watch from closer up for a more immersive image without seeing pixels. Some people might like this, but it's adding details that aren't in the source footage, which might result in some artifacts. In our testing, we didn't really find it to be better than native 4K content, and purists might find it worse. Now, let's see how it performs in our tests. A high contrast ratio results in deep dark scenes, which is good if you want to watch movies in a dark room like a home theater environment. The contrast is good, but pretty low for a VA-type panel. This isn't that surprising though, as this TV has both an 8K resolution and a wide viewing angle layer, both of which are typically associated with lower contrast. There is a local dimming feature though to further improve dark scenes for a better movie watching experience. While this TV has a mini LED backlight with over 1,000 zones, the overall performance is pretty mediocre. There is still both some minor black crush and blooming around bright objects. If you want to use the TV in a bright room, then a high peak brightness is important to overcome glare. The QN900A has a great overall brightness. This is impressive because 8K TVs tend to have lower brightness. The increased number of pixels and circuitry to connect them means that there is a slightly lower area to output light for the same size screen. At any rate, it should be good to overcome glare in a bright room. In small areas, it's even more impressive, which is great if you plan to watch newer high dynamic range or HDR content. Also important for a bright room is good reflection handling. The QN900A handles reflections very well. The anti-reflective coating cuts down on glare significantly. The wide viewing angle layer results in a horizontal smearing of the reflections. Some people find this distracting if they have bright lights directly on the screen, but it really depends on your preferences, as others like the reduced intensity. If you've got a wide seating arrangement or like to watch TV with family and friends, then good viewing angles help to ensure no one's left with washed out colors or crushed details. While this TV has a VA-type panel that's typically associated with bad viewing angles, this TV is advertised to have a wide viewing angle layer. It does improve the viewing angles quite a bit, so it should be good even for wide rooms. An overall uniform screen brightness and color is important when watching sports or playing video games, to avoid the appearance of clouding known as the dirty screen effect. This does vary between units, but we expect the Samsung 8K we bought to be about typical. It's pretty good, with only slightly darker edges. In really dark scenes, the black uniformity is okay, but there is a bit of blooming in the corners that might be distracting in some dark scenes where the local dimming isn't as effective. Now, if you want to watch newer high dynamic range or HDR content, then the ability to produce deep, saturated colors is important for impactful highlights that pop. The QN900A has a great wide color gamut, which is great for those who like an image with extra saturation. Some TVs struggle to display smooth gradients, so when watching a movie with gradients like a sunset, some banding can be visible. This TV can produce very good gradients, so while there's a small amount of banding in darker shades, it's really not an issue. You can also enable the noise reduction feature to smooth out gradients further. When playing video games, a fast response time is important for the clearest image without distracting blur. The Samsung QN900A has a fast response time overall, and smearing shouldn't really be an issue, especially if you use the LED clear motion feature to flicker the backlight and reduce persistence blur. A low input lag is also important for a responsive feel when playing video games. This TV is great with very low input lag in game mode, especially with 120 Hz signals. Now, if you do plan to game with a new Xbox or PS5, then this TV has great support, including both high bandwidth 4K 120 Hz signals and variable refresh rates for smooth and tear-free gaming. There's no Dolby Vision support, but we don't expect this to be a problem as this TV supports HDR10, which is much more popular for HDR anyway. Like other Samsung TVs, this one uses the Tizen Smart platform. It feels nice and smooth and is easy to use. It does have ads that occasionally appear in the home bar and app store though. We didn't manage to get a photo of them during testing, but it really depends on if a company or service is paying to advertise to you, so they can appear and disappear randomly. Now, lastly for the sound. It's decent overall and about typical of most TVs. This is a bit surprising as it has visible dedicated speakers on the back. If sound is something you care about, then an external soundbar or speakers is the way to go. So, this brings us to the main question. Should you buy this TV? Well, it's an 8K TV, and in 2021 that comes with a price premium. It's definitely a great model overall, so if you must go 8K, then it's a good choice, especially if you're in a bright room and can take advantage of the anti-reflective coating and great brightness. If you don't need 8K yet though, there are 4K TVs out there that might offer better value or performance. The LG C1 OLED is a great option for a dark room. The perfect blacks result in an immersive home theater experience. Another great option is the Sony A90J OLED. It offers similar performance to the C1, but with the Google TV Smart platform and Sony's renowned processing. If you've got a bright room, then the Samsung QN90A is an excellent choice. It gets brighter and also performs better than the QN900A in dark rooms with a much better local dimming feature.